Good morning, gentlemen. Acme Pollution Inspection. We're cleaning up the world, and we thought this was a suitable starting point with episode 007 of A Review to a Kill, which is a look back on the James Bond film franchise presented to you by fanboysanonymous.com. Let's introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Plenty O'Mango. Good lord, what a terrible name that would be. Jeez. Obviously, you should know us by now. I'm Tony Mango. With me are Robert D. Felice.
Hello, Mr. Mango.
And Callum Wiggins.
I speak English.
I was wondering what the scenarios were going to be this time around. I totally forgot about that part.
Well, you totally took my Plenty, so I had to come up with something on the fly.
Oh, man. Yeah, we're talking about Diamonds Are Forever for this edition, so strap yourselves in, because this is maybe, I don't even know if it's a maybe, I think it might be a guaranteed weirdest Bond film ever. There's plenty of weird elements in all the Bond films, and this one was just like, I don't know, all of them, and just sort of any idea you got, toss them out there. So in the same regard, any ideas that you have, toss them in the comment section below. Tell us your thoughts on this movie. Tell us your thoughts on our breakdown of this film and everything else that we got going on here. The best thing you should be doing for that is dropping a comment on the YouTube video. So while you're over there, hit the like button, because that'll help us grow. That'll help us on the SEO, give us a little bit of juice there. Hit the share button if you got any James Bond friends or fans, family, I don't know, I'm botching all my Fs right here, that might be interested in checking this out. If you are not subscribed already to the YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that little notification bell as well, just to get some things out of the way as far as the other kinds of plugs. If you want to help us grow in the future on a different side of things, maybe on the monetary side, then toss some spare change our way through the Patreon, patreon.com/fanboysanonymous. Take advantage of those different tiers we have there. We also have the merchandise shops on TeePublic and Redbubble. Trying to think of some designs that we could do based off of our jokes or whatever of this review to a kill. So if you have any suggestions for like t-shirt designs or, phone case things or whatever, maybe you got a shower curtain idea in mind. Maybe when it comes to The Man with the Golden Gun or something, I don't know. Then, we'll get around to that. Actually, more so, maybe even with Severine in Skyfall. Now I'm thinking of shower curtain stuff in the Bond movies. I'm going to get sidetracked. That'll be a riveting podcast, wouldn't it? Let's talk about the shower curtains in Bond's history. We're not doing that. We're talking Diamonds Are Forever. The film has a couple foreign language titles. What I've been doing recently is checking into that, seeing if there's anything interesting. None of them really super crazy. Here's a couple that I thought were, at the very least, somewhat worth talking about. Brazil tends to have you add 007 into the mix, so this one's with 007, the Diamonds Are Forever. Spain has Diamonds for Eternity. Most of them are Diamonds Are Forever because it's just normal words, so they don't have to translate anything too weird. Turkey just says Immortal Diamonds. Italy, for some reason, is a Diamonds Cascade. Well, that was a kind of flourishing.
I like that.
And Germany got a little I don't know, I guess just sort of, let's just call it this, Diamond Fever. Just you got Diamond Fever, No 007 to the rocket base. I was disappointed that there wasn't something that said 007 goes to the moon or something,
007 fakes the moon landing.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get more into that with Moonraker.
007 leaving Las Vegas.
Yeah, something like that. All bets are on 007 or 007, I don't know, catches a show with Shady Tree or something.
Coming to America, and coming is spelled like...
Spelled like what? C-O-M... This kid's watching this. Better not be. Kids, this podcast is not for you.
Neither is this movie.
No, neither is this movie. We'll get into some of that in a little bit. To start things off, we got to address the elephant in the room. Hey, Barry. We're not talking about John Barry here. We'll talk about the music. But the main thing that you start this movie off with is that we got Bond switching again. There's a weird, there's a couple films where it's we go from You Only Live Twice as Connery, And then we go to a new Bond in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Then we go to a different Bond in this one, and then in the next movie we're going to get a different Bond. So we didn't have a regular Bond for a couple films here. And after his time in You Only Live Twice, Connery's like, that's it, I'm done. I'll never be Bond again until this film and he returns. Then he's like, that's it, I mean it, I'm done, for real, I'll never be Bond again until he comes back for Never Say Never Again. And then he's like, that's it, I'm not joking this time, I'm done, until he voices Bond in the From Russia With Love video game. So Connery just couldn't escape this role. He made a fuck ton of money doing this.
Yeah.
I think he's very good at the role. He's at this point my number 2.
It's only 2 Bonds at this point.
Well, I mean, overall, obviously, of the ones we've seen, he's number 1.
Wait a minute, so how's he your number 1 and number 2?
I said he's number 2 overall, meaning in the whole.
Oh, okay. I think you meant since we've seen so far.
No, I think he was paid like it was like $1.5 million at this point, which is probably just like I think that was the number that I saw. It may have been more, but it was like a huge sum of money at this point in time. And then also part of the deal meant that he got to make 2 movies that he wanted to make through the production company. I can't remember what the first one was. I think the second one actually didn't end up coming to fruition because it was meant to be a story. I think he was going to do like a version of Macbeth.
I think so.
And then a different film production company already came out with a version of Macbeth in the years between that, so they decided, yeah, we're not going to do that instead. And then he just never got his second movie.
Yeah, he. I think he donated a portion of his salary, if not, or that might have been Never Said Ever Again. Now that I'm thinking about it, but he positioned himself in a way where they were like, well, we feel like we need to get James Bond back. People are not responding so well with Lazenby. Lazenby doesn't want to continue. They thought about casting some other people. They actually did cast somebody else in the role as like a backup, and they ended up having to pay him because they got Connery back, and it was like past the point of his contract, so they just had to pay him out. So it would have been interesting to see maybe a different Bond. I don't know if he would have done great or not. No, like Adam West type of thing. I forget the guy's name. But they didn't have a whole lot of like faith in this movie, and they went back to the philosophy of let's do Goldfinger again because of how successful that one was. So they once again revisited the idea that maybe they should have Goldfinger's twin brother, and this one would be Goldfinger's obsessed with gold, so this guy's obsessed with diamonds. That's why they got Shirley Bassey back. That's why they got director Guy Hamilton back. They pretty much were like, Goldfinger's the one that we are using as our benchmark. Let's try to do Goldfinger again. I don't feel like this is Goldfinger. You guys?
No, it's I mean, it's not Goldfinger. It's incredible that a movie that has so many batshit insane moments in it could also be so boring as well.
Yeah.
In a lot of places.
Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree with Callum. And no, this is not Goldfinger. This is not even an incredible simulation of Goldfinger. This is just its own weird masterpiece.
Like at its best or worst, this would be Goldfinger on an acid trip. And it's just like a bad parody.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad parody. It's got some awful villains in this, which we'll obviously discuss. It's got one of the worst Bond girls that you could imagine as well. Not in looks wise, but obviously just in terms of being completely ineffective and actually
Bar
detriment to Bond.
Bar none thus far, the worst Bond girl.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
and it's a bit all over the place. I was kind of relieved early on in the movie where they find out that he's going to Holland and not South Africa, because I was really worried about that point.
Right after the kind of things with the Only Live Twice.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have been put past me at that point. So I was like, "Oh, Bond's got to black up for this movie." That's like that could be the way they go with it.
Be like, you must become South African.
He already bad enough with the Scottish accent. The Scottish South African is not going to work too well.
I mean, we'll get into a little bit more of that, but when you're watching On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and we were talking about this when we were doing the past one. Obviously, go back and check it out if you didn't listen to that review. you're assuming, based off of the end of the last film, Tracy's got a bullet in the head. Bond just got married. And she died, like, immediately afterward. Bond's going to go on this kill crazy rampage. And Blofeld is fucked. Blofeld's not in the book. This is the 4th book, actually, and it took him this long to get around to. I never read the book, so I don't know exactly what it is. I know that it's mostly about just the diamond smuggling, and it's about the mob type stuff, and it's like Serafino Spang and Jack Spang, I think, are the villains or whatever. But this feels like the movie that should have came after the Blofeld revenge story. Like, they should have gone dark as hell, Bond hunting Blofeld, kill the bastard, and then try to balance it out with something a little bit more jovial and have like a different villain. Because if Blofeld's not in the book, they shoved Blofeld in here, and it's just ludicrous. Yeah, not only one Blofeld, they shoved multiple Blofelds.
Yeah. Oh, and the guy they get to play him. Yeah, it's a revisit as well. Get to see that the one guy. Oh, I'm trying to remember what his name was. What was his name in You Only Live Twice?
Henderson, he was Ditko Henderson. Charles Gray is the actor, and for some reason, despite the fact that 2 movies ago, that it's like, there you go, that was Bond's ally and whatever. They're like, you could be not Goldfinger, you could be Blofeld. Why not?
I mean, in fairness, he was in that other movie for about 5 minutes in total.
Yeah,
so probably
still.
Like, nobody probably remembered.
I think it's more passable when it's like, let's recast the guy who was the communications operator, and then we'll make him the other communications operator. You know, like, then you can get away with that more. We've talked about before. I mean, the one Gypsy is she goes on to play Paula in Thunderball, and Maud Adams is in 3 Bond films as 3 different characters. Well, she's not really a character in one of them. She's just a cameo, but they do that, and it just seems such a weird decision to make, to be like, well, we got to follow up on Blofeld, so let's make Blofeld the villain here, and also let's make this not at all a follow-up to On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
No, Bond doesn't care at this point. He's completely forgotten about Tracy.
Well, that was the other guy.
Yeah, this never happened to the other guy, right?
Yeah.
So we start this movie off with old black and white footage of Connery in the gun barrel because they didn't want to refilm it again. So we're back to black and white for that, but whatever. I hate this opening for so many reasons. They start off with Japan, making it kind of seem like they're disregarding On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And there's this horrible dubbing on the guy who says that Blofeld's in Cairo, which is just like, you can't get the dubbing done right. You're awful. 7 films into this, and it's just like, his mouth doesn't move, and it's like, Cairo! Come on.
Painfully bad dubbing.
Connery's voice sounds like he's dubbed by a terrible actor.
Yes.
It doesn't even sound like him. My name's Bond. Sure James Bond.
I guess they're trying to protect the fact that just pretending that it wasn't Connery for a little while. Because to be fair, you look at Connery, this is not the Connery of 4 years ago. This guy's
that quick. Like, I mentioned it and You Only Live Twice that he wasn't looking as, like, he's a little bit more worse for the wear and You Only Live Twice compared to especially compared to Dr. No. Like, there is a drastic difference between Dr. No and You Only Live Twice. And then you go Dr. No and Diamonds Are Forever, and you're like, oh damn, that's his dad.
Yeah.
I mean, for context, he's only 41 when this movie came out.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's about in his late 40s rather than his early 40s.
I would think 50s.
He is graying, and he's got a significant amount of wrinkles, so I wouldn't put it past him to be that.
So that reveal is awkward as hell too, because they go out of their way to, like, it's not even Bond that's doing it. I mean, it's not even Connery. It's Bob Simmons, his stuntman, is the one that they're filming on the shots where it's not Connery. So they really went out of their way to be like, you don't see Bond, but then the third shot you see Bond. So why even bother? And My Name's Bond, James Bond, it's awkward. There's a good little moment where he flips the bikini top around on Marie to strangle her to get some information. That's the Another instance of nudity for those who are getting check marks on that. That's our first full topless person.
Yeah, there is no subtlety in that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just see 2 full-on nipples. So.
Yeah.
To be
The
fair,
comment.
though, I was surprised. I thought he was legitimately just, "Hey, I'm back and I'm already having sex." Because
You thought he was just gonna bang her?
yeah, I was like, "Oh, well, we're going right here immediately. Great."
To be fair, we don't say if that happened afterward. He could have been like, "Thanks for telling me that information. Now I'm gonna throw on the charm or something." I don't know.
You never know.
But we do get introduced to Blofeld because there's this plastic surgery going on, and I don't know about you guys, but I did not think plastic surgery involved people bathing in this mustardy goop that looks like mud or baby shit or something.
Well, I was more intrigued by the fact that he's clearly already had plastic surgery because he looks nothing like the Blofeld in the previous movie.
Yeah, he's got hair now. He doesn't
Yeah.
have the scar anymore or the missing earlobes.
He's British.
Yeah. And he looks just like Henderson. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what this whole goop mess is. Like, I couldn't guess what material they're using for that. I assume it's just some sort of yellow clay.
yeah, it's got to be something like that. But like,
yeah.
how does that? Like, what? Who the fuck? Just, that already is like, you lost me on like, the bad dubbing. Okay, whatever. The black and white footage of the gun barrel. Okay, fine. Bad delivery of the line. Sure. But who in their right mind goes, okay, we're going to do a plot about Blofeld having these doppelgangers. And it's like, all right, well, that's a little bit hokey, but okay. And they go, how do we show that? I know, a mud bath. You're just going to engulf yourself in mud, and that's going to be a part of the process? Oh, and the Blofeld's got the terrible line, making mud pies 007. He would have been me in a matter of days if you gave the poor fellow a chance and whatever. It's like,
This guy is terrible with his lines. Like, he's way too corny to be Blofeld. Like, what I like so much about the previous Blofeld is that he did have some good lines like that, but he felt more visceral. This guy seems like, I don't know, someone's dad decided to play villain in a for their kids or something like that. It says, "Oh, you nearly got me, 007," that sort of thing. It's a bit more like Carry On Bond rather than James Bond. That's a very British reference you probably wouldn't get. So
I didn't.
Over my head.
no, there's a series of like British movies called Carry On films, which are essentially like that. Ooh, our misses, that sort of thing. It's like that this whole like very, very, I'm trying to think of like any example you might have seen. Have you seen like these sort of movies where it's like the like the plumber movies and stuff like that, where it's just a load of slapstick and British humor and stuff like that?
Like a Benny Hill type thing?
Yeah, sort of along those lines. It's very misogynistic. It's very just of the time. It's that sort of thing. It's just like the big punchline as a woman's bra comes off, that sort of thing. That's like the whole. Whereas like this guy feels like he would fit far more into that than in a Bond movie.
With like a slide whistle.
Yeah, this Blofeld seems like he's a parody Blofeld.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this movie's a parody movie. We established that already.
This feels more like an Austin Powers movie, doesn't it?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Like, it's an Austin Powers movie that they didn't realize they were making a comedy, and it was just that bad. And I feel bad about like Charles Gray. I haven't seen him in any other movies other than these two that I'm aware of, but I like his voice, and I like how he has this kind of mean-looking face to him. I feel like if he was in a serious Bond film, he might be able to actually be a good Blofeld, but he's not.
Another good villain. Yeah, just another good villain. He could have been fine. I think the fact that he's attached to the Blofeld is actually hurting him.
If they would have called this Diamonds Are Forever and had, obviously, if they would have made it a little bit more serious and, I mean, you could have, like, you need to have humor. Humor is one of the 7 elements that we break down in this, but you go too into goofy and you throw that is Blofeld out of all people. Like, Blofeld, at this point, he's brutal in From Russia with Love. He's only spoken of in the background of Dr. No. He's not a factor of Goldfinger. He's pretty brutal in Thunderball. and you only live twice. He's like, oh wow, they didn't do a good job with that one. And in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, he fucking kills his wife. And in this one, they're like making mud pies, 007. And all this. It's like, damn it. And Blofeld's goon goes to grab Bond's gun, and he's got a fucking mousetrap in his suit.
Well, no, Tony. Now, when you get married, are you not going to keep the just-in-case mousetrap in your suit?
I know for one thing, I'm not going to have flowers on the car that I have to take off just in case.
No, that's a bad precedent set.
Yeah. I'm never going to say we have all the time in the world, just to be sure. But like that mousetrap thing, we're going to talk about this when we wrap up the whole thing and we talk about gadgets. Absolutely stupid. That is full-blown parody crap.
It's not even parody crap. It's just not good.
And he tosses some instruments into one of the guards, and that's terrible acting. He's just like, you got me. And then he follows that up with Blofeld.
Blofeld into a vat of hot liquid.
He smacks Blofeld with the thing, the whatever that. It's like a dentistry type of thing.
Yeah.
And the way that he hits him is like it's terrible. Like the choreography, because Blofeld just lunges forward and waits to get hit very calmly, and is just knocked out cold for like 5 seconds. And he straps him onto this gurney and shoves him into this mud bath crap that's bubbling and says, "Welcome to hell, Blofeld." And his cat screams and we get a transition into the title sequence. It's terrible.
See, I had a sneaky suspicion that Blofeld wasn't actually dead, so that,
right.
I kept that in my mind. But obviously, if you just go into this movie and I'm not saying like, well, I really enjoyed On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So at the very least, I'd want a follow-up to it, even if I liked it or I disliked it. And then the follow-up you get is essentially, as far as you're aware, Blofeld dies in the first 2 minutes of this movie.
Yeah. After a gag with a mousetrap and a bunch of mud bath crap. Not even like the film starts off with Bond sneaking into Blofeld's lair and shooting him in the head. Where you'd be like, okay, he got, like vengeance for it. Or he burned him alive, or he beat him to death with a torture device. It's like, no, he smacks him over the head with a thing, shoves him into a vat of mud, and he's just like, well, there you go. And the cat's like, "Mah!" It's sort of absolutely terrible. Garbage intro.
I feel like they tried to cram too much. Hey, Bond's back, Connery's back. Here's everything. Here's him interacting with a woman, and you think he's going to seduce her, but he actually chokes her. Here's this, here's that. I think that they tried too hard to get too much in.
So at this point, I think you can tell this is one of my least favorite ones. You're going to get a lot of me complaining about this movie on this podcast, everybody.
That's right. I can join you this time. I'm not going to be trying to fight you on the other side.
Yeah. Is that going to be a trifecta? We're all going to crap all over this movie?
I'm pretty sure of that because you already saw my reaction to my favorite part of the movie because it was in the trailer. And yeah.
As much as I hate almost everything about this movie, I absolutely love the song Diamonds Are Forever.
Agreed.
I think it's the best one.
It's
I mean, if not the best one, it's definitely top 5 for me.
Yeah, Shirley Bassey's back, and Shirley Bassey's just amazing. The lyrics are great, Diamonds Are Forever. You talk about the whole idea of like, I don't really like the lines, hold one up and then caress it, but it's like, it's kind of got this sexy element to it, and touch it, stroke it, and undress it. You're like, oh, okay, what the hell's going on here? But it's all about, I don't need a man, I got diamonds, and whatever. And that translates a little bit more to the book, because in the book, apparently, Tiffany Case is kind of like, I'm not into men, period. Not like she's, pussy galore, but like, she is just sort of like, I will take care of myself. I'm into diamonds and getting rich and whatever. And it's just a damn good song. It's so catchy. It's a great one to listen to. It's one of my absolute favorite songs.
very good. And this, at least this sequence, I enjoyed way more than the last two. So I thought this was like a return to form.
Yeah, I think that was the way they kind of try and put it together as well. They get Shirley Bassey back for the entire thing, so they're trying to just, okay, we went off piece maybe with the last movie with Lazenby, so this is a return to form. Obviously, it's not, but it's like in terms of the actual movie itself. But at least they got the title sequence really, really on the nose here. And yeah, I love the ending part of it as well, where she's just like repeating like Diamonds Are Forever with that little bass riff going underneath it as well. It's so good.
I'm not a huge fan of the visuals. There's better ones. There's worse ones. It's just diamonds and women. Yeah, I mean it's
diamonds, women, and cats.
Yeah, it's par for the course.
Yeah. It's better than the previous one, so I'll give it a thumbs up on that regard.
We got that going on, and I mean, I could go on and on about that, but despite the fact that that's not groundbreaking, and I guess like the biggest effect is the disco effect on the dancing woman silhouette. And it's what it is. It's more so just listen to this great song. And at least as far as the rankings go for me on the music, this is my favorite Bond theme so far. It's always been one of my absolute favorite ones. I know it's not going to be my favorite ultimately, especially because I've watched these movies a million times. I've listened to the songs a million times. I've done my tier list already. I'm doing a secondary tier list or whatever. I know it's not my absolute favorite, but it's definitely up there. It's probably in my top 5. And we have more than 25 songs, so that's saying a lot.
From what we've been through, this is my number 2. I still put Goldfinger number 1, but this is number 2.
Now, did you say that this ranks for you, Callum?
Yeah, I'd say this is it's definitely the favorite one so far out of all of them.
So it's like terrible intro, one of the best Bond themes. It's a jarring difference. But we go into some of the setup stuff. We got M. He basically is like, well, now that Blofeld's dead, get back to work, asshole. Kind of like,
yeah, these guys seem to hate each other now.
It's needlessly mean. It's like his wife died minutes after their wedding. Yeah, he's going to want to go after the guy that killed him. And he's just like, you going to go back to normal work, jerk? Now that you're back to, sweeping the floors, dickwad, maybe you can, it's like, relax, Em, you were at the wedding. You probably heard the gunshots, But Bond is, Alexa, what are you doing? Stop.
I thought I heard a question.
Okay, Alexa, stop. I don't know what that was about.
I think when you said asshole.
Maybe that's why it's not controlling my TV right now. It needs to go by.
Hey, asshole, what's the weather like?
Yeah. So Bond is at his snootiest here, maybe. Yeah. He remarks about the sherry, and M gleefully, because he hates him so much, corrects him. He's like, there's no year for sherry, and Bond just uppercuts him with the snobbiest. I was referring to the original vintage in which the sherry was based, sir. 1851, unmistakable.
So good.
This apparently came about because they wrote a line about the sherry, and I forget if it was like one of the producers or somebody along the lines was like, yeah, that's not a real thing. And then they were like, how do we replace this with whatever? And they just kind of did that. But of course, a couple moments later, Bond asked about what he knows about diamonds, and he casually just remarks like, it's a girl's best friend or whatever. And M is so quick to be like, it's refreshing to hear there's one subject you're not an expert on. It's like, they might as well just fucking fight.
You would have thought of all things that he could and could not be an expert on, like the most sought after substance in the world would be something you kind of want to be brushed up on a little bit more. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't know anything about diamonds, but I know about this sherry, and I know about I'm trying to think the most inane thing, but Lepidoptera and stuff like that. Yeah, I know everything that I need to know about that sort of thing. But diamonds, yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, he's very anybody could have said the lines that he said about the diamonds. He's like, it's the hardest substance, looks pretty, that kind of thing. That's just to throw you off with the sherry comment or whatever. Now that feels very Goldfinger because they did that same kind of exchange with the gold and Bond about the, I forget what it was. It was like the Dom Perignon or something.
Mm.
These movies always make me want to figure out how to play Chemin de Fer and how to know more about liquor, but I don't drink. So it's not really not ever going to happen for me. They kind of, and they even said this on the commentary, they kind of just blah, blah, blah. Here's what diamonds are about. Let's move on. It's all just exposition.
Mhm.
And we get this whole thing about how they're smuggling diamonds through this whole dentistry practice. And we're introduced to the primary henchmen of the film, Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd.
Ugh.
Mr. Kidd is played by somebody who's never acted before at that point, Putter Smith.
Don't say.
He is a bass player, a jazz musician.
Oh, I'm
So-
surprised that he's not like the head of his own IT company,
I can
based
see
out
it.
of his mum's basement.
One of those like back in the day where it was like we are working on computers and they've got like those sheets that you punch cards and whatever.
Mm.
He's played by Putter Smith. For what it's worth, despite the fact that he's never acted before, I actually like Mr. Kidd. We'll get into the character a little bit more, but like I think that Putter Smith does a good enough job. I didn't really think that he had never acted before. I just thought that he's written weird. You know who plays Mr. Wint?
I feel like I've seen him before, but I can't place it.
That's exactly the answer I was hoping for.
Yeah, who?
So do you know Crispin Glover
I have heard the name, yeah.
in Back to the Future? In
Okay.
he was the villain in one of the Charlie's Angels movies. I don't know the name of the.
Oh, is he the Thin Man?
Oh, that's what his name is. Yeah,
I thought I recognised that. That can't be him, surely.
that's his dad.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, who it is. Because obviously, yeah, the Thin Man would be way too young in Charlie's Angels movie to be in this one.
I was
but
going to say,
he
that's
does,
not
the
George
resemblance is
McFly.
yeah, but the resemblance is uncanny.
It is. It's ridiculous. He looks just like his dad. And Bruce Glover, I don't know what other movies he's been in that I've seen, but I literally, for the longest time, I was like, damn, that guy looks like just like Crispin Glover. And for like years, I went into this idea of like, this dude looks just like Crispin Glover. And I never bothered to like connect the dots or whatever. And then it was just, I don't know, one day when I was like 15 or something, I'm like, oh my God, Bruce Glover, of course, he's his father. Like, you know. We got to dive into these characters in a lot of different ways, and I don't even really know where to start. I guess I'll say this. I love their theme. The music that plays with Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd is this whistling little tune that is one of my favorite little pieces of music. It's just like it's like fun in a weird way, but it's kind of like do 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 do, and it's just kind of I don't know. I love it. I know you guys don't pay too much attention to the music, but
No. No, it didn't really resonate. I was too busy just looking at them and thinking, okay, I'm supposed to take these two seriously. 'Cause
So, Tony had told me what this movie was going to be about, and I had watched the trailer, and Tony mentioned that there was a gay couple, and I said, well, it's surely not these two, and he said, yeah, it is. And God, that feeling just resonated throughout the rest of the film.
yeah, I mean, so they do the thing where they use a scorpion to kill the dentist,
yeah,
who does an
that
even more ridiculous death than
Dude, all the
guy
deaths in
earlier.
this movie are bad.
it's really bad because I mean the premise of this isn't bad. They pose as the guy, they're taking place of Joe, and they meet with the dentist, Dr. Tynan, and they pretend like, I mean, this is where it gets so it's like bad. It's like if you'd say what is the scene, and you know there's that thing going around where it's like describe a movie and make it sound bad, and you can say something like one of the things I saw earlier today was a guy goes on a killing spree because he didn't get a job promotion, and it's Revenge of the Sith. And it's like, yeah, it's a bad way to describe that movie and, whatever. If you describe this in a good way, you can say, so these henchmen, they pose as somebody who is meeting up with somebody who's smuggling diamonds through a dentistry practice by, they're putting it in their teeth, and they kill him. They place a scorpion in a way that can kill him, and then they give a bomb to this other guy by pretending that they're sent from Dr. Tynan, and then they make off with the diamonds. You go, oh, okay, that sounds kind of cool. But when you get Mr. Wint going, ow, my wisdom teeth. Oh, can you check them out? Let me put a scorpion on your back, and he could go, oh my God, I got a scorpion on me, whatever. And it's terrible.
Yeah, it ain't great.
And then they pull off some more corny jokes about how he got bit by the bug.
Yeah, I actually like that one.
Of course you do.
I mean, to be fair, these guys are losers, so they can do that sort of humor and get away with it. That's like, so they do the quick jokes. They give a package to the helicopter. That's another thing about this fucking movie. The explosions in this movie are the absolute worst. The special effects are just, they've regressed 10 years.
Uh-huh.
It's awful. And then they then the helicopter blows up, and they make another remark about it, and then they walk away holding hands.
Yeah, if God had intended man to fly, Mr. Wint or whatever, he would have given him wings.
That's
and
an
then they walk off,
Mr. Kid.
They walk off holding hands, which I wish I would have been in a movie theater when this film first came out to see what that reaction was.
Yeah, seeing what people vomiting onto their seats in front of.
And let's put it out there in case anybody thinks that we're going in this direction. There is no part of us that's going to be saying like, LOL, gay people, when we are crapping on the way that this film handles it. Instead, we're doing kind of the opposite when we're going to be talking about this, because the film very much is like, LOL, gay henchmen. And obviously we're looking at this through 2021 eyes. That shouldn't be like a character trait of being like, what if the villains were gay this time? Like that kind of thing. But it's just a weird choice to make in this time frame for them to do this kind of thing. And I really, really wish that they would have, like, I could get some kind of reaction from that, because I don't know if people laughed. I don't know if people were like, oh, Bond's got to kill them immediately kind of a thing. I don't know what the reaction was for this, but it's got to have gotten a reaction,
Probably confusion first, because
right.
We're not entirely sure what their deal is until you see them just holding hands as they walk away. We're not going to do that, but this movie tries very hard to make you like, huh, look at that. They're gay. Get it?
Right.
Like the whole film, I mean, like literally right till the very end, really wants you to be like that. Oh, God, this was awful. But I will say, and maybe this is more for Callum than you, Tony, because Callum's closer in age to me. But I finally understand where they got those Kids Next Door villains from. Because they literally just ripped off these two guys.
Oh, you talk about Codename Kids Next Door?
Yes.
Codename Kids Next Door, what's that?
Oh, it was a thing on the Cartoon Network.
Ah.
Yeah, and they
in
literally
the early mid 2000s, something like that.
And they literally ripped these two guys off almost directly. I forget their names weren't obviously. It was Mr. Wink and Mr. Fib. Got it.
Oh.
So yeah, and they look exactly, or at least the one dude looks exactly like these guys, and it's creepy then, and to see what it comes from, it's even worse. Because, like, I don't know what the message you're trying to send here is. Is it that gay people are creepy psychopaths? Or, like, what were they trying to accomplish? Because I learned nothing about these two. And yet, somehow, they were the final two to die.
I will give them a tiny, tiny morsel of credit. There's no direct moment in this movie where they say that they're villainous because they're gay.
No.
Like, they could have done that back in this time frame. They could have been like, oh, of course the gay characters are bad. You know, Bond would have made some kind of a quip about like, you know, they gotta have a real man and like that kind of thing. You know, like you pull a Draco kind of thing. But like,
Yeah, they didn't do the final death scene of them wasn't Bond inserting one of them inside the other.
well,
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's where you get into where you go, God damn it, guys! Like, you know what I mean? Like,
wait for it, 'cause yeah.
we'll get to it. but-
well, we'll certainly get to that because we can't not talk about something as ludicrous as that is. But
Yeah.
they're like practically the best killers in this whole series so far because they just go on a kill crazy rampage, like different that Bond should have gone. They're killing people more than Bond is at the beginning of this because they pass off the diamonds to this old nanny type woman, Mrs. Whistler. I hate how stupid this movie is. I'm gonna go back to this, but she's, you know, reading this kind of Dr. Seuss type stuff about, you know, having an umbrella for when the rain comes again and all this. And they give her like they do the whole diamond trade thing or whatever. And I'm going to skip past a scene and we're going to go back to it. Cause then one scene later, we're at a hovercraft shown for a moment. We had more hovercraft action in Die Another Day. And very quickly right afterward, Mrs. Whistler's dead already. Because
Dragged out the canal.
yeah, so
She
Go off
did
the old
say to
nanny.
Take pictures for the children.
I hate how stupid this movie is.
I mean, part of me likes how stupid they are, but it just makes me difficult to find them in any way intimidating. Even though, like Tony says, they're the biggest killers in this entire movie, and maybe this entire franchise so far in terms of henchmen. But they're so unintimidating.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a weird juxtaposition.
In
At least
between,
not-
oh god,
I was gonna say, I mean, you can make your point because I was just gonna go back to the thing that you skipped over, but I assume you're gonna head on
Yeah.
to that later on anyway. So.
No, it's like they're very focused on their task, and they do get a lot done better than any Bond villain I've seen. At one point, I was legitimately like, "Oh well, Bond should just die here." Like this was good.
So in between those two scenes of introducing Mrs. Whistler and killing Mrs. Whistler, we got our Moneypenny scene where she gets some action kind of in the field a little bit. She replaces Peter Frank's passport, and there's an exchange with her and Bond of what can I bring you back from Holland? A diamond and a ring. Would you settle for a tulip? And she's like, yes.
That was bad.
Okay, so it's painfully obvious watching it that they're clearly not in the same scene with each other at any point.
They aren't.
Yeah, so
Do
I
you
mean,
mean to tell me that wasn't in the same scene?
no, they shot it so easily to the point of like, okay, so now we can only see Lois Maxwell in this part. We can only see Connery in this part. It's just okay. It's just like these two clearly hated each other at this point and didn't want to be involved in the same scene.
Yeah, they didn't really have like a Moneypenny scene worked out, and they kind of were like, we got to put Moneypenny in here somewhere. Let's do this. We'll film it in 2 separate shots, and we'll just take care of it that way. They won't have to worry about it anymore. They're not going to be in the same scene together anymore because we're going to move on to Roger Moore in the next film, and things will be different for Lois Maxwell. But I still love Moneypenny. Still great. Still one of my favorite characters in the whole franchise. And it's sad, you know, would you settle for a tulip? And she's just like, yeah. Like, you know, give me a flower and I'll fawn all over you. It's like, oh, you need to find somebody who treats you well, Moneypenny. So then we go and we meet another woman. We meet Tiffany Case. Bond introduces himself as Peter Franks. I thought that was a neat little touch. So clearly he's just got that baked inside of his himself. And we got this jazzy version of the Diamonds Are Forever theme playing. I like it. They use it quite a bit throughout the film in different ways. And it's just a good little, like, I didn't like how they did We Have All the Time in the World when Bond is just going through the hotel room in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It didn't seem like a fit. But this little jazzy do 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 do, like, I dig it, you know.
Yeah.
And Tiffany Case is a blonde. And then she's a brunette. And Bond calls her out on this, and he's just like, weren't you a blonde? And she's wearing this skimpy lingerie. She looks fantastic, of course. Bond later goes on to say, "That's quite a nice little nothing you're almost wearing." I approve.
I have to say, in this one, I haven't got like many examples written down, but the innuendo in this movie went to just new levels.
Oh, this
Like,
is
it wasn't
12 out of a 10.
Yeah, no, just like it wasn't like in other movies. It's been a bit more playful and a little bit more subtle. This one is basically saying, "Wow, nice knockers."
Yeah.
Basically.
I do like the line though. I like how that's like nobody talks like that. You know? Nobody would say that's quite a nice little nothing you're almost wearing. But it's a good like Bond would say that kind of a thing. Just a means to be like, well, that's not much clothes or whatever. And Tiffany gets his fingerprints off his glass. She verifies who he is. They're establishing that she's very attractive. She has a bite to her with her dialogue. She's smart. She's capable since she does the prints and all that. For all intents and purposes, she's off to a great start.
It's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Jill St. John, super attractive. I'm not digging the red hair because she becomes a redhead in her third outfit. That's really my only knock. Like, she's got a beautiful face. She's got a good body. She's got this sexy attitude. And she turns into a complete fucking bimbo.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know whether I'd go. I mean, bimbo is probably a good phrase for it, but I'd probably go just basket case. Probably
Yeah.
is the phrase that I'll go for it instead.
Incompetent,
Yeah, completely incompetent.
which is, it's like they switched the entire script from that scene to the rest of the movie.
Like, they were like, let's introduce this capable Bond girl and then actively sabotage her the whole rest of the film. Kind of. There is a certain point where there's a switch over. And we'll get to that when we get to it. It involves a cage. But it's such a shame because if she would stay this Tiffany Case throughout the whole film, she'd be an amazing Bond girl.
Turns out she's not.
Not in the slightest bit. We see that Bond's been using Q's special fingerprints. Good gadget. Totally
Yeah,
better than the
useful.
mousetrap.
Much better.
Yeah, they wouldn't work out well together, would they?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's got a padding to it. But Peter Franks is on his way there as previously scheduled, so Bond pretends to be making out with himself to avoid being spotted.
That's not Austin Powers at all.
I hate how stupid this movie is.
Well, it's more than that. It's just the stupid that he's making out of himself. Secondly, he then goes up to Peter Franks looking like himself. So it's like he could have just stood there. He doesn't know who this guy is.
Yeah, he's completely innocuous. Just be yourself. And he makes it even worse because he does what Callum's referencing on this. He pretends to be somebody from Holland, or I guess, I don't know, with the I speak English and whatever, this dumb accent or whatever. Oh God, it's terrible.
So I don't know whether he's trying to do German or Flemish or something like that, but he's definitely just putting on some sort of like crazy Dutch accent. It's like I was kind of like in my mind thinking, is this better or worse than Mike Myers as Goldmember?
Yeah.
Freaky deaky Dutch.
It's really, really bad.
But then it has one of my favorite. It's followed by one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, which is the fight in the elevator.
Oh, it's a great fight in the elevator. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a great scene.
Maybe one of the best fights I've seen in the whole franchise, just like hand to hand. I thought this was so good, and it actually felt like, wow, Bond is capable of just taking a man out at all cost.
You got like scrambling for like glass shards to stab each other with. Bond ends up taking him out with a fire extinguisher, and it's kind of like reminiscent of the train fight from Russia with Love. So they're like, every once in a while, this movie goes into something where you're like, damn, that's a good idea. If this was a good film, that would have worked really well in it. You know?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, we talked about in the last movie how we kind of enjoyed the fact that Lazenby was a more athletic Bond, and so he could do a few more things that were a bit more cinematic in terms of his fights. But this one's very visceral, and I think Connery does that better than Lazenby at this point.
Yeah, you feel like the punch is a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, when it's close action and it's just a bit like, okay, these two just like fight or die in a really tight, confined space, then yeah, the Connery does an excellent job of it.
And he swaps the wallets. So Tiffany Case grabs the wallet and she goes, "You just killed James Bond." And he goes, "Is that who it was?" So Bond has died 5 times so far in this franchise in some fashion.
Hold on. Because Tiffany clearly knows who James Bond is.
That's another question.
Because she clearly says, well, you don't just kill James Bond and wait for the police to show up.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not know who you're talking to?
I mean, so she knows the name. That's basically as far as we can tell with that side of it. So she may not know who he looks like, but she is a smuggler, so she's on the villainous side, at least like in theory. So she's probably heard of James Bond.
My thing was, like, it's 71. It's not like pictures don't exist. You know?
Well, it brings up the question, if she knows who James Bond is, how did Bond, after all this time, get through all these different types of villainous organizations introducing himself as James Bond? Like, Blofeld is way more connected than Tiffany Case is. You would have thought that by Dr. No, he would know who James Bond is, because he's the world's most famous secret agent that everybody knows the name of. You know, like
he's the world's worst secret agent in that he always has to introduce himself by his first and second name whenever he goes into any environment. It's like, I'm a master of espionage. I'll tell you exactly who I am, and you want my social security number as well. My
I do love in Casino Royale when he just throws it out there like that. It's kind of one of the best moments of that film. And we get a little moment here where I have a note all the way skipping to the airplane. I don't know if there's anything in between that you guys want to talk about, but the note that I've got next is Mr. Kidd says, "I must say, Miss Case is quite attractive
for
a lady." And Mr. Witt glares at him. It's a fucking stare.
Jeez.
He does not like that joke. Mr. Kidd thinks it's funny. You know, he's laughing at himself, but Wint's just like, fuck you, man. Like, you know. Honestly, it's one of my favorite moments of the movie. This movie's garbage. So, we go and we meet with another ally, Felix Leiter, one of my least favorite versions of the character, if not my least.
Yeah, I didn't like this.
Yeah, he's like a mobster's patsy. In terms of his accent and stuff like that. It's just like, hey boss, that sort of thing. It's just like that little, like, more of a whiny tone to it. Don't like it.
He kind of strikes me as like an insurance adjuster. Like, I don't buy that this dude's a CIA agent. I think that he is the manager of a car dealership. You know, but this guy's going to try to get me some kind of a deal and want to shake my hand with a real firm handshake or whatever. Not that he's going to have a gun.
Then they follow up because he's looking in the coffin to see he asks where the diamonds are, and Bond says, "Alimentary, my dear Felix." And this is like an example of, did you guys do exactly what I did, which is Google the word alimentary to find out what he meant?
Oh, here's the story about this. So, I never understood this line until I looked it up however many years ago.
Exactly.
And for anybody who's listening, if you're as dense as I was and everybody in the world, for the most part, would be, what's going on here is Bond's joking about the alimentary canal.
You know.
Just a thing that everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. It's just like, it tries to make it feel like such like a really cool, smart, sophisticated line. It's just like, alimentary, as in like the Sherlock Holmes thing. It's just like, but no one knows what that is.
Mm-hmm. And they debated about this. They, like the writer and the director were like, we gotta have this line in there. And producer Cubby Broccoli was like, nobody is going to get the joke. So when they were watching the premiere in Mann's Chinese theater, a couple people in the audience chuckled, and Cubby Broccoli apparently said, "Big deal, 2 doctors."
That's funny.
Because it's like, it's way past everybody's pay grade on this. Nobody gets that fucking joke. And if you do, you're probably
Right.
a doctor or a nurse or something, you know? Even then, I'm sure there's a lot of like doctors and nurses or whatever that wouldn't get it because they wouldn't get like the wordplay at that moment. Like that is the snootiest type of thing following up that Sherry comment, you know? Nobody would get that goddamn joke.
But then you follow it up very soon afterwards in one of the absolute other end of the spectrum, which is Bond is sitting in the hearse driving around with the side of things, and he says like, "Was that your brother?" And Mr.
Yeah,
Frank
he
says,
says-
"Yes, it was."
He says
"Oh, I have a brother."
the stiff, the deceased back there. Your brother, Mr. Franks? I got a brother.
Small world.
That is my favorite.
This guy, the actor's Mark Lawrence, pops back up again. I'm trying to keep track as much as I can of the characters and the actors that pop back up. And he might be playing the same character in The Man with the Golden Gun. It's not said because he doesn't have a name in this movie. And in The Man with the Golden Gun, he's just Rodney. He's a gangster. He talks that way. So it's
I love it if
vague
it's his
enough.
brother.
It might be like it's this weird, stupid thing. And I mean, we're gonna get to it when we get to Man with the Golden Gun. It's only 2 films away, but I really like Rodney in The Man with the Golden Gun. He's only in one scene, but it's just like I got a feeling they had this scene and they went, "Oh, I like this guy. Let's bring him back," because he pops up again a little bit later on in Diamonds Are Forever, and he has another line that's really funny, whatever. And in The Man with the Golden Gun, when we get to that, he is just kind of the same guy. So in my head canon, it's fucking Rodney right here. You know, it's just kind of, I got a brother. It's very.
That was so funny.
The mortician's name that runs this place, by the way, is Morton Slumber. How perfect is that?
Thought
Oh,
Tiffany Case was bad.
I mean, this is when you take somebody like me who loves puns and you go, just don't hold yourself back. Tiffany
Well, we'll
Case,
get there.
Morton Slumber.
We'll get to the final one. Don't worry.
Yeah. So they burn the body. They get the diamonds out. They put it in an urn. Bond swaps it for money. And Mr. Kidd knock him out, put him in a coffin, and send him into the furnace.
This was genius.
This is the part where you said Bond should just die, right?
He should just die. Yeah. Like,
I mean, he doesn't get out. He does not escape this. He's
No.
only pulled out because they say that the shady tree and
I'll
want
get to
someone
that
pull him
line.
out. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that later. But it's just like Bond, like Rob says, should die in this thing because he has no way of getting out.
No, he has no gadget to cut open the thing. He has nothing that can like insulate him. He's dead. Like, for all intents and purposes, there's no way Bond gets out of this. And there's this weird music. It's not a bad track. It's just
Which is
really
basic
out of
funeral music,
place.
isn't it? It's like funeral music, isn't it? So because that's what they play when they put him towards the furnace.
It's just weird, and it abruptly ends with the mobster Shady Tree opening the casket and saying, "You dirty double-crossing limey fink, those goddamn diamonds are phonies." One of my favorite deliveries in this entire film.
it is good.
You dirty double-crossing limey fink, those goddamn diamonds are phonies. Bond's just like, yeah, they're fake, and yeah, they're fake money, whatever. See you later, guys.
I didn't like that because it's not even like we get an explanation of, well, what the hell? He's just like, okay, cool, I'm alive. Yeah, they're fake, and your money's fake, and why don't you give me the real one? Bye.
He pulls a Randy Marsh, go, see ya. Any other thoughts on the mortician side of things before we move on?
No, let's
No.
let's proceed.
Let's go hang out in Vegas for a bit. Do you guys ever go to Vegas?
No.
No,
I've
I might be something on my to-do list.
never gone, but I don't want to go. Vegas seems awful in all
Not sure.
regards.
I mean, that's the bachelor party we're in.
There's a quick shot of him looking at an ad that includes Sammy Davis Jr., who filmed a scene for this movie that was cut from the film. It's not a good deleted scene. It's basically Sammy Davis Jr. being Sammy Davis Jr. for the sake of it. He's like playing I don't know if it's like blackjack or something. I forget. It's been at least a couple months since I've seen the deleted scene, but he's playing something and he just kind of says something to Bond or whatever about like, no, you look fancy or some kind of joke or something. I don't fucking remember. The point being, it deserved to be deleted because it basically was in there for people to go, I know, that's Sammy Davis Jr. No purpose. But we see that Shady is an old school shitty comedian with jokes like, trying to find Willard White is like finding a virgin in a maternity ward.
Ah.
I mean, it's quite easy to find one because there's loads of babies in there.
He's surrounded by two women that he calls his acorns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I hate showgirl shit. Again, I've mentioned this on other things. I just think that that's dumb. To me, the idea of like, you're going to watch this old school comedian and he's going to just have these women in these flashy outfits stand next to him. I feel like it plays to the lowest common denominator where people are like, what's an extra thing we can put here? Women. What's extra we can do on that? Flashy. You want to dangle some keys and make a baby laugh?
Mm.
Yeah. He's not long for this world. Mr. Wint, Mr. Kid kill him a moment later. It's most annoying.
I do love the fact that like the guy goes up to and says, we have to keep Tree alive. He says, well, that's really annoying.
Yeah. That's another deleted scene that thankfully they deleted because the way that they filmed that, they just sort of talk to him and shoot him, and the way that they shoot him is just kind of like a cap gun. Really badly filmed. It's just kind of like, and he just kind of puts his head over.
Well, I bet you even that was better than some of the deaths that we actually see.
Oh no, at least those are fun. This one's just sort of like you could get like a student film that could do a better job than this. But then we're introduced to Lana Wood's character, who introduces herself chest first as Plenty. And Bond says,
So you are.
But of course you are. And looking at her dress, whew. So she clarifies, she's Plenty O'Toole. And Bond's response, arguably the best line in the entire film, named after your father, perhaps?
5 stars.
Amazing.
Mm.
A joke I did not get when I was younger watching this movie.
No, that's let's put it this way: if you're going to go super absurd with these Bond girls now, because that is the archetype of the Austin Powers thing. The Pussy Galore and Plenty O'Toole is the thing that the Austin Powers Bond girl, or like Powers girl, whatever you want to refer to them, is like the archetype of. And they play craps with her, and she's like supposed to be lucky because she's a lucky lady and all that other stuff, that she's crap at the game. And then Bond just shows, oh yeah, I play craps all the time. It's just like, I played it once. He just knows what he's doing. He wins 50 grand out of it.
Gives her a little bit, and she's just like, you're a little strange or whatever, but a hell of a guy, or I forget the line. Full blown gold digger, and for my money, I mean,
yeah,
look at her. But Plenty she has one of the best introductions, like in the entire series, because of this whole absurdity. Like again, Honey Rider, okay, kind of whatever. There's nothing weird about Tatiana Romanova. Tanya Romanova. Okay, it's a name. Pussy Galore, you go way blown into, it's a 10 scale, it's a 50. And nothing weird about Joel St. John, or Joel Masterson. Joel St. John's the one who plays Tippy Case. Joe Masterson, Tilly Masterson, normal names, kind of nothing crazy about that. Domino Derval. Okay, Domino, whatever. Derval, there's nothing crazy going on there. Kissy Suzuki, okay, but Aki is a totally fine name. Tracy, nothing weird. Teresa DeVincenzo, nothing weird. Plenty O'Toole and Tiffany Case.
Yep.
I mean, they might as well call her Big Titty McGee. Like they might as well have just done it. Beautiful woman.
Hey, there's no you can't have to do.
That's the whole point. So they cast that well. They go to his hotel room. Mobsters are there. Bond says, "I'm afraid."
This line. You say this line. It's great.
I'm afraid you caught me with more than my hands up.
And then they grab because she's already gotten her out of the dress and plenty. They grab Plenty, and then they throw her out of the window
Oh, okay.
into the pool. And Bond says like exceptional shot, and then the guy says, "I had no idea there was a pool there." So-
Well, I like the line of "What is this? Some kind of pervert convention?"
Because for her point of view, she's just like, I'm gonna seduce this rich dude and try to bleed him of his money and whatever. And she goes to his room. She's already calling him lover. She takes her top off, and it's just like, who the hell are these fucking gangsters? Plenty is she gets a rough fucking ride on this film, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Plenty getting tossed out of the window made me bust out laughing when I saw it in the trailer, and it made me bust out laughing when I saw it here because they just fucking chuck her out the window.
Arguably, wouldn't it have been funnier if there wasn't a pool? Because imagine the consequences of that. They threw this gorgeous woman out of a window, and she just fucking kersplats.
Wow. Like, can you imagine? Wow.
And then Bond can make a quote saying, "Well, we're seeing Plenty of tool now."
Yeah. So Tiffany's there, and they fuck. You know.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, it was her guys or something like that. Because it's like
Yeah.
they weren't there to deal with Bond or anything like that. It's just like, okay, we're just making sure that we get rid of the gold digger so we can fuck instead.
Yeah, she's trying to con him out of the diamonds, and it's very obvious too. You know, like, how about you tell me where to pick up the diamonds, and I can get that. No, we can go off together. You know, that kind of thing.
He was a good killer in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Eventually, this leads to this whole plan. You know, did you ever go to when's the last time you went to the circus? They go to this circus thing or whatever. She's led to a water gun game. Oh, there's a brief moment between there where they're trying to track where she's going, and they get distracted by these trapeze artists. It's just a show off Las Vegas, whatever. But she's told with this, I actually kind of like it, where she gets dealt this card, and it's like, you know, why don't you play the water balloon game? And she doesn't even bother with it. Her gun's not pointing anywhere near it, not aiming at all, and her balloon just inflates purposely, and she wins. This little twerp,
And this fucking kid.
rightfully complaining, wait a minute, I saw the whole thing, the game's fixed. Who is she, your mother?
And then she says, "Blow up your pants."
Blow up your pants.
I was like, "What does that mean?"
Hang on a sec. I mean, obviously this happens next, but the most absurd thing about this entire scene is there's an elephant that wins at slots.
The stupid gag with the elephant pulling the slot machine. It gets 3 elephants. This movie, the word that I have, not the word, the note that I have there is elephant pulls slots, and then in all caps, this movie is so fucking dumb.
I missed
Yeah,
that with the elephant.
No, I just have it in my notes. An elephant wins at slots, and then it's just the line there. It's just like, because there's nothing else. It doesn't play any other resemblance in it. It's just we're in the circus. Let's have an elephant win a slots machine.
It's just a gag. Wouldn't this
It's
be
not real
funny?
elephant, is it? As well.
Relevant elephant. And then it goes into the sideshow thing with Zambura, a woman locked in a cage that will change very slowly, as they say. They even say it, into a
again-
450-pound fucking gorilla.
Yeah, again, I don't want to go too far down this thing, but
I hope it's the
Okay,
same
let's
note that I have.
yeah, let's put the black woman in the cage.
Uh-huh.
She gets turned into a gorilla. It's just like,
God damn. It's gotta be a black woman.
yeah, no.
And the actual
Yeah.
transformation bullshit is really dumb. It's a fade in, fade out type thing. And like somebody in a gorilla outfit to scare these kids. And again, I have the note in all caps. This movie is so fucking dumb.
And then Tiffany uses this opportunity to escape, and Felix basically arrives afterwards where Bond is waiting by the rental car they were supposed to get, and he says, "Yeah, we lost her. But good job there."
Womp womp.
And then Bond just like,
Turns up
He's
at her
like-
place.
yeah, first he's like, "Oh fuck, Felix, don't tell me you lost her." And then once he says that, he's like, "Okay, cool, I'm just gonna show up at her house."
Yeah, completely pointless. He's right there in the next scene. Immediately found her.
Yeah, and it's the worst big part about it is it's like he's just sitting there. He's just sitting there. like in the lounger, and then you just cut over to the water, and she thinks that her wig is in the pool, and it's actually just Plenty O'Toole is like being held down by a cement block, and she's drowned in the water. And then just like immediately, my immediate assumption is just like, okay, Bond decided to send a message to her by just killing this random woman in the pool.
Right.
Yeah, like Bond is just like, oh, she's dead. I'm not gonna move her. Not gonna help her. No, like, look, that could have been you.
He's
Yeah,
lounging by the
fucking-
pool. Plenty of
Yeah.
O'Toole's dead, drowned in the pool right next to him. And he's just like having a drink, reading a magazine. For anybody who's
Looks like
keeping
you're right.
count, there's more nudity because she's wearing a white outfit in the pool. So there you go. You got your shot of plenty.
Yeah, I really love that dead boobies.
All right. Yeah. But he justifies this, saying this, write it off or whatever, as Plenty must have stumbled into her place looking for Tiffany, and then they killed her thinking that it was just Tiffany. Now, in a deleted scene, they dive more into this, and they explain that Tiffany, in the deleted scene, goes to see, or Plenty goes to see Tiffany because she thinks that she's intruding in on her gold digging scheme,
It
which
should have been in the movie.
should have been in the movie. Like,
Mm.
absolutely should have been in the movie, because the way that it works right now, it's just sort of like, you should
I
play the water balloon thing. Shove it up your pants. There's an elephant. There's a gorilla woman. We lost Tiffany. Plenty's dead. And you're like, what? Can we go back to the fucking gorilla woman? Like, that kind of thing. Like, what's happening here? What's up? And this is the point where Tiffany is no longer a smart character. The whole rest of the film, she is a fucking idiot.
Yep.
And it might happen with the fact that Bond slaps her in the face. Maybe he slaps the intelligence out of her. You got to get the whole Bond slapping the woman thing. It's
Yeah.
just, damn. Like, this whole sequence with the, I would even excuse the water balloon because they at least have her with the, like, not pointing the gun or whatever. Once you get to the cage, actually, no, I'd say once you get to the elephant, that's the point of no return for this movie.
Mm.
It gets even wackier and crazier, and you're like, all right, there's a lot of weird shit and a lot of bad things in this movie, but I'll forgive some of it. You get to that elephant, you get to that cage with the gorilla woman, and you're like, all right, somebody just said, fuck it, you know?
Yeah. Bond slapping Tiffany, not great. But what can you do? It's literally just the direction they always wanted to go with the character.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I can't blame him in that regard because that's what Ian Fleming's Bond did. So they're just following the character at that point.
I was really more put off by Bond just ignoring the dead body and letting the dead body float.
So, if you think we can't go weirder from an elephant and a gorilla woman and a mud bath doppelganger type thing and all the other things that we've gotten so far in this movie, we go to the Tektronix place because we're going to the moon. I really
Well-
do like this one part in this, though. Bond sleuths his way in by taking over Klaus Hergesheimer's. I forget how to pronounce it. Hergersheimer, I think it is. The reason apparently for that name is that's what somebody, I think it might have been Cubby Broccoli, that was his like go-to, like how people say like Bruce Pritchard says like a Fernum Shavitz. He's just sort of
Right.
like it's a thingamajig. He'd be like, oh, get the Hergersheimer. So they just named the character Hergersheimer because they thought that'd be kind of funny. But I really like how he works his way in here. He gets to know some information about Klaus Hergesheimer's working in G section. He's checking the radiation shields, whatever. He plays it off as like, it's like, well, where's your shield? Oh, I've been waiting for you guys to give it to me. Oh, I'm sorry about that, pal. Like that kind of thing. I actually really like that. That would have worked really well in like an actual serious Bond film.
Yeah, I thought
I-
it was like really good. He with actually being a spy. It's always good to see.
Yeah, but for a scientist, this guy's really dumb.
Yeah, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
He just
Let
lets
this guy
Bond in on the thing, and well, Bond pretends to have a little card. That's a nice little moment. Like, but he is kind of dumb.
It's the
Um,
radiation. You know, it's not doing him too well.
He didn't
that's
take a
the thing as
shower.
well.
He should have just washed it off.
Right.
Well, that's the thing as well. It's just like, oh, okay, Sean Connery's back. Guess we're going right back to radiation again. That's like the whole movie again. It's rockets and radiation.
But if you got that little clip on, then you're good.
Yeah, fine.
So he gets found out when they find it. The real Klaus pops up. Bond's like, "Oh, I'm Klaus Hergesheimer. I'm in the G section. I'm checking the radiation shields, whatever." And then after that, and he leaves, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Klaus Hergesheimer. I'm in G section, checking the radiation shields." And they're like, "Fuck, okay." And he has to run, and he passes people filming a moon landing.
Yep.
And they go in slow motion to stop him. What the fuck?
Yeah, so they're going in slow motion, like they try and get in his way, but they're moving super. I guess they're in character, so they can't really change that sort of fit.
You don't understand. It's not the gravity. It's when you put on the suit.
And then he gets into this ridiculous moon buggy, but that would never ever be taken to the moon in any circumstances whatsoever.
What do you mean? Yes, it
The
would.
size of it.
Yeah, well, why not?
This lunar rover thing is goddamn ridiculous, and the chase sucks.
Yeah, because he's driving. The thing's moving pretty damn slowly, and then he goes out into the desert, and every single car that's driving after him just flips itself over. Like he doesn't do any like special maneuvers. He's just driving in a straight line, and these cars are just going over rocks and stuff like that, and just falling on their roof. You get a bunch of like more agile ATVs, but freewheelers. They go after it, and then one of them falls off just randomly. And as he's getting on, you find out that Bond has escaped the moon buggy. He goes out, just kicks the guy off the thing, and then he drives away on the scooter. The funniest part of this entire thing is when Bond catches up with Tiffany again, and he just clearly Sean Connery's never ridden a bike before because he just lets it go, and he almost falls like arse over tea kettle, whatever you want to call it, he just nearly falls flat on his face trying to get off this thing. Gets back in the car, drives off. It's like, I don't know if you guys want to talk a little bit more about the moon buggy, but it's just a ridiculous scene.
It's awful. It's absolutely awful. And it's like, what the fuck is this doing in the movie? They literally just had these ideas of wouldn't it be fun or funny if, and then they were like, just do it all. Moon buggy, car chase, whatever, just do them. And we get a proper car chase afterward. Thankfully, it's much better.
Yeah, through Las Vegas. But again, it's just okay, or at least Bond's causing it this time. But essentially, this entire chase is like saying the entire Los Angeles, not Los Angeles, the entire Las Vegas Police Department are a bunch of dolts who just can't help but just drive into each other in every single possibility, or drive into a bunch of parked cars.
That's a running theme in this franchise. Is when he's in America, the police are idiots.
I guess that's fair.
We're going to get into it with A View to a Kill. We're going to get into it a little bit with Live and Let Die, and maybe the Golden Gun type stuff.
What is that then suggesting that America faked the moon landing? And just being like, yeah, fuck you, it's fake.
Yeah, probably.
Well, okay, let's get into the next absurd thing in this movie, which is, as far as we know, this is just a plain, normal muscle car that they're driving around in. And yet Bond somehow manages to flip it onto two wheels, drive it on its side, and then to turn it while it's on one side into the other side in this little small corridor. The fucking sheriff tries to do the same thing, immediately flips it over because, funny enough, cars work that way. But Bond somehow has again, he has a magic penis. He also has magic driving skills. It's got magic hands that can control cars in ways that most normal human beings couldn't.
He's got 2 magic stick shifts.
Yeah.
God damn it.
And the funniest thing about this whole thing is Tiffany's face during the entire chase scene. It's just she's just staring mouth agape at this entire.
Oh, yeah, she's completely ineffective. More on that when we get to the ending.
So this whole stunt, the big stunt of the film, the going on the 2 wheels, squeezing into this dead end corridor, they try to fix this thing because they come out on the alley on the opposite end because they filmed it in 2 separate shots and they didn't realize it until afterward. They go, they start with him leaning on the right, he comes back and leaning on the left. Their idea of how to make that work was to do an insert shot of the car flipping to the other side. Absolutely impossible because there's no way you can flip that car in the alley. That's the whole point.
Oh no! What happened was that there's a little wider opening in that one little section where the car does flip over onto the other side.
And has
and then it
another
goes
little
through
ramp.
it again. Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the cars in this movie were all provided by Ford because Ford was like, we want Bond to drive our car in the next film. And we'll give you that car and any car you want to destroy as long as he's driving our, the red car and the Mustang. And they were pretty much like, that helps out the budget. Cool. Yeah. But man, people talk about this being like one of these great car chase things. There are so many better car chases in this franchise that don't have a dumb thing like that alley insert shot, whatever.
You've already seen them.
But the car didn't explode.
Right.
It's one thing.
Is that positive or a negative?
I guess it's more of a
Well,
negative.
American cars are just built better, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, if the cop car that flipped over, if that would have been a villain's car, it would have blown up mid-flip.
It's just the thing, like, in this movie, this as absurd as this movie is, just like, no, it can't have the cars blowing up. That'd be ridiculous.
So Bond and Tiffany are off to the honeymoon suite in the White House, spelled Whyte, on a bed that's made out of glass with fish in it.
Yeah, they have sex on top of a fish tank, I wrote.
How the fuck is that comfortable? It's glass. Like, they're laying on glass. Awful.
Yeah, but he's Bond.
I mean, her surname is Case.
Bond uses this grapple hook thing to get up to the higher floor. I'm thinking to myself, nope. Not ever doing that. Nope.
Not a heights guy.
Not like that, at the very least. And he lands on a toilet when he gets inside with all these video monitors over it, because we're going, if you haven't figured it out already, we're going with Willard Whiteby and Howard Hughes. Because haha. And instead, it's Blofeld. But it's two Blofelds.
Oh my god.
And one of them is on the phone with this Tektronix voice box stuff that apparently also changes the voice of someone in the room.
You can change it to a southern accent.
To Willard White here, that kind of thing. He does say that the other one has a miniature voice box embedded in his neck, so and maybe you can justify it that way, but his voice is naturally dubbed by... You want to guess?
It can't be her, surely.
It's not Nikki.
Nikki Vanderzil.
Nah.
Really?
No, of course, it's Willard White. It's,
All right. asshole.
it's a dubbing thing. I had to get it in there. I don't think she pops up in the rest of the franchise at this point. She might.
She was a good
I don't know.
seven. She was a good seven.
Bond is trying to figure out how to kill one of them, or both of them.
Oh, he figures it out.
He's figuring out the point of this little statue type thing. Of course, he kills the double, which is pretty obvious, and he kills him by kicking the cat toward the guy and shooting him in the head. And he says he got the wrong one, not by saying like, "Oh man, I got the wrong Blofeld" or whatever. He says, "Wrong pussy."
Come on.
Okay, so we got that line out of the way, unfortunately. But then I'm just there staring at internally screaming at the screen now. Fucking shoot him!
Yeah, just shoot the real Blofeld at that point.
No, I'm shouting at Blofeld. Shoot James Bond! What the fuck are you doing?
Oh, same thing for that too. Yeah, at this point, you've tried to kill Bond how many times? Shoot Bond. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like, rather than kill him immediately, Blofeld decides, hey, go into this elevator instead.
Oh, he goes in the elevator, gets gassed. Shouldn't have pressed L for lobby. That was his issue.
Mm.
That's dumb because you got to do that, and then you got to get a shot where Mr. Kidd put Bond in the trunk of a car. A bottle of cologne falls out. It's like one of the most important parts of the movie, which is absurd.
Yeah, no.
And
No, because when I first saw it, I thought like, okay, so Bond's going to land on this cologne, and then that's going to wake him up while he's in the trunk, so he can fight them off and deal with them. But he doesn't wake up.
Or
But
he's
then
going to
you
like
find out later
use
on that-
that to start a fire somewhere, or like
You have to hold on to that little nugget of information till right at the very end of the movie, and by that point, I would assume 90% of the audience had completely forgotten what they were talking about.
and it's a quick enough insert shot that you might not have even seen it to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like they put him in there, and by putting him in here, he shatters the bottle. So I mean, he should have gotten cut, but whatever.
Mm.
And instead of killing Bond, they put him in this construction tube so that hours later, while he's still unconscious, so by the way, totally brain dead, you know, they like bury him, and there's this rat, and he goes, "One of us smells like a tart's handkerchief. I'm afraid it's me. Sorry about that, old boy."
I enjoyed that. I must admit, I don't know why I enjoyed him talking to the rat. Like, I'm sorry, I said you smell.
I mean, it gets funnier after that, because after Bond manages to get his way past this little machine which is going through all the tunnels, and by short circuiting it, he just like climbs out. The maintenance men go down to like repair the machine. He comes out the hatch and says like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was walking my pet rat, and I seem to have lost my way."
Again, I've got the all caps. This movie is so dumb.
Yeah.
So in response to that, with a little bit of Q's help, they do their own voice modulator, and they impersonate Bert Saxby and set up a whole bunch of stuff.
Where did
Good
Q come
gadget.
from?
Where did Q come from?
Because Q wasn't in America
Came from England.
before. Yeah, I know, but like, there's no like.
Yeah, there's no
ride or
shot
stuff
of
like
calling
that.
him up.
Like, he's just like there. He's just like now in America now.
Yeah, he just hangs out for the rest of the movie, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just playing slots. Just enjoyed himself.
Here's another part of the film that I absolutely hate. Bond and company, they go to White's penthouse, and Bond's met with Bambi and Thumper.
Do you hate the names, or do you just hate the scene?
I hate every single aspect of this. The
Yeah,
women
this is-
are terrible actresses. They're good gymnasts.
Well, yeah, that's
You
what I
know?
think that's what their role was. To be, we're choosing you because you're athletic and you look pretty strong, rather than you actually can act.
It's a ridiculous concept, a silly
Go,
fight
Bambi,
scene.
Go Thumper.
Yeah, you're up now, Bambi, and all this. Like,
Oh, they were not. They weren't very good at their acting jobs. But
This-
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that there's this one part where I think it's which one's Bambi? Is that the
Bambi's the white one.
okay? So yeah, so Bambi's got her legs wrapped around Bond's neck
yeah,
from above, and then there's just like these like it cuts away and cuts back 3 or 4 times between just Thumper just like gyrating or
Yeah.
something.
the fuck is she doing? She's doing this posing shit, and there's trapeze nonsense, and she's going out of her way to like kick the air.
Yeah. Which is just like it's an incredible scene in the regards to like these two women just beat the shit out of Bond. Just like
Yeah.
kick him all over the place. They kick him into the pool, and then Bond, while in the pool, they attempt to drown him, and Bond just gets his hands up, puts it on the back of their head, and drowns them. Or doesn't drown them, obviously, just puts their heads underwater, and basically just controls the entire thing from there.
It's like they're kryptonite or something. They get into the water. They decide to go into the water, by the way. They push him into the water, and they jump in and do a fucking dive, because why would you need to do like perfect dive like that instead of jumping on the guy or whatever?
What?
And as soon as they get in there, it's just pretty much like, all right, I'm just going to grab your heads and shove you down and shrug. Oh, I got this kind of figured out, you know?
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen a deer and a rabbit in the middle of an ocean or in a lake or something like that. They don't work too well in those situations.
So I had to Google whether or not Charlie's Angels was already on the air. And that's why they had this scene of 2 women just completely beating the shit out of James Bond. Because at this point, we've learned that these 2 women and the 2 henchmen are like the biggest threat Bond has ever faced. Because they keep kicking his ass. And then they get in the water and it's like, we're done with that. But my favorite shot of them is when they're walking towards Bond and they're like, I don't know what they're doing, if they're trying to dance towards him or what, but it's just like the least threatening faces I have ever seen. I don't know. Great scene just for how absurd it is, but not a great Bond scene.
I don't know how they're gonna rank when we're done with this series, but I'll tell you right now, Bambi and Thumper are my least favorite women in the entire franchise at this point.
Oh, I didn't dislike them that much. I thought they were actually a fun novelty act. Like, they
I think
did
it's
well.
absurdly stupid. It wouldn't have been as bad if they wouldn't have been named Bambi and Thumper, or they wouldn't have been doing these weird gyration things, or they wouldn't have been trapeze things or whatever. Because it's like, these are his bodyguards? And like, they beat the shit out of Bond, sure, but like, who the fuck is like hiring a bodyguard? And, you know, Goldfinger's like, give me this big hulking wrestler for Odd Job. And you got like Hans, and You Only Live Twice, and it's like, okay, this dude's like this big kind of guy. And Willard White, this jackass, is like, give me these trapeze women that are just kind of lounging out on a rock while I'm like held captive, kind of.
I mean, he's Howard Hughes, like you said.
Absolutely stupid.
I think that's fine because he's like, you don't expect it, and hey, once they're done kicking the shit out of James Bond, he can have fun with them. At least that's the assumption you get.
Bambi and Thumper. Felix has a line. He goes, Willard White's about to be executed, and guess who's giving breaststroke lessons? I do like that. It's just kind of like, there you go. And Willard White is played by Jimmy Dean, you know, the sausage guy. The fuck is this movie?
America.
But then they're just like, so they get out of the thing, and he's like convinces like White to leave or whatever and stuff like that. And then Saxby's there. We barely even mentioned him throughout the entire thing. He's there, he's got a sniper rifle and just starts shooting at him. And then they just shoot him. Just falls down the hill, just rolls down.
Ah!
And
then White says he's fired.
Yeah, tell him he's fired. God. And I love that, like,
so much. It's doing a really low opinion for like American like brain power at this point.
I don't even care if they're making fun of Americans. I just think it's bad. Like, you know, I think that it's funny that on the commentary they're like, I think that this is like the funniest of the Bond films or whatever. It's like, well, you wrote this shit. Like, you made it silly, you know? Like, so Q's rigged up this machine to control slot machines. He doesn't even care about grabbing the money. I think it's a fun little moment. I love it. He's just sort of like, oh, you put a little bit of pressure on here and it's whatever. And you can, you know, he very easily puts his hand up, pulls the slot, wins. Puts his hand up, pulls the slot machine, wins. Actually, it's one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. And it happens to be followed up by one of my least favorite parts in the entire franchise. Tiffany is shoved into a cab and there's Blofeld dressed in drag as an old woman petting his cat.
Why not?
Throw some drag in there.
This is very Carry On now. I have to show you some of the Carry On clips because you would just say, oh yeah, this is very much it. Who are Mrs.?
Terrible.
Yeah, really bad.
No excuse.
So like now we see this satellite that's launched under quote unquote White's orders. But it opens up prematurely. and now Blofeld's got control of it. Then he just destroys a missile in North Dakota, and then destroys a submarine in Russia, I assume.
North Korea.
Yeah. Destroys like other missiles in like North Korea with a guy that's on fire.
Yeah, terrible VFX shot.
Yeah,
the missiles like turn red, and the guy just walks into the frame on fire. It's atrocious.
Yeah, and White reveals what Blofeld's big plan is, which is like the laser is being put up for auction, and the winner gets like nuclear supremacy by destroying all the other people's missiles using it.
And you got to use diamonds to do refraction and all this. Yeah. So you had to get the diamonds to be a part of that, which seems like it's this convoluted ass way of throwing diamonds into the mix.
Yeah, and Bond like somehow immediately figures out that he's in Baja, California.
He doesn't figure it out just immediately like that. He goes, oh, you could be here or there or there or there or there or there, mentioning Baja. And Jimmy Dean's, I love the way that he delivers it. Baja! I don't have a place in Baja. It's like...
Just the way that Bond mentions it. It's just like, because he mentions just like loads of actually pretty prominent either states or cities, and then he says Baja, California. It's like, who ever heard of Baja, California?
There's a couple lines in this franchise that stick with me that make, like, why would it stick with me? One of them being from Dr. No, the W6N, W6N, that kind of thing. Baja is one of them. Just Baja! Like, I cannot ever think of Baja in any capacity for the rest of my life without thinking of Willard White yelling that. It's going to be burned in my brain forever. Yeah, they're on the oil rig. It's like, okay, let's just get into the end of the movie kind of a thing, because we had enough wacky hijinks. The next interesting element I have written down is all the way later on with switching the tape. So I don't know if you guys have any other notes.
I mean, I have to fill in a few of the gaps here. So Bond gets dropped down in some sort of inflatable ball. And so he's dropped in the water there, and he gets to the base, and he just immediately gives himself up.
Yeah.
You see Tiffany's just laying on this oil rig in a bikini.
She looks great.
She does. Again, not denying it. It's just like, it seems like a pretty odd place to be doing some sunbathing right now. And yeah, actually, this is when he gets to the tape part of it. So I'll pass it back to you then.
He wants to try to replace the tape with the marches of whatever it was. And he swaps it. And later on, Tiffany switches the real tape back. And Bond, I think he calls her an ignorant twit or something.
You twit. You switch. You put the real one back in there. I was like, she's so bad.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, it's all just a massive farce, because like they trade tapes right in front of Blofeld.
Mm-hmm.
There's no attention whatsoever to it. And then Bond slips the tape into her trunks, says, "Oh, your problems are all behind you now."
Good line.
And then she decides, because she's an idiot, to swap the tapes back over. So now she's not even just like a nothing and like a non-entity. She's now actively working against Bond,
Yeah.
not intending to do it.
I do
And
like when
so-
Bond just goes, bitch. It's just like, it's like they didn't want to try to think like a pithy line or something. He was just like, well, what can he say to really show that he, thinks that she's a bitch right now? I don't know. How about bitch?
But no, the thing I just love about it, what I love about it and hate about it at the same time, is just that Bond just says like, "Oh, it's the tape's right here." It's just like, it's just so easy. Just like he just like knocks the button and the tape goes flying out, and Blofeld just says, "Put it back."
Yeah.
He's like a 5-year-old or something like that. He just knocks something off. It's like, fucking shoot the guy. He's just going to be an irritant to you. And Bond, when he gets out and he's being like held up by guards and stuff like that, he just lets off a red balloon just to let him know that like this is where the base is and stuff like that. And he tries to run away. They still won't kill him. They'll put him in a room which has a completely accessible hatch that Bond can escape out of. Just
At this point,
comedy of errors. It's like ridiculous at this point.
Bond's the guy that took out your plot with Dr. No. Bond's the guy that undid this whole thing with Kronstein. That was just this like impossible to fail plot. You might not have ties to Goldfinger, but you might have heard about the Goldfinger plot, and you know that Bond was a part of that because you got your your fingers in all these different kind of pies. He foils your plot with Thunderball. You were standing in the same room with him, and you had a gun trained on him, and you only live twice and whatever, and you've seen that this guy, in multiple circumstances, can try to get himself out of some kind of a plot by doing things like having trick cigarette guns. And he also infiltrated your fucking allergy base. And you're like, put the tape back. You don't think that fucker did something? Shoot the bastard, move along with your plot, you're fine. And instead, we get a whole thing where Tiffany tries to swap the case back or whatever, and Blofeld notices the tape in her bikini, and he says she's showing more cheek than usual. And he compliments her ass cheeks and says it's a pity that they aren't brains. Remember how an hour
That's
ago
right.
this woman had more IQ points?
Yeah, no, I
Bond slaps
forgot.
it right out.
Which makes it all the more worse. And honestly, she's at the very bottom of my Bond girl tier. She fucking sucks.
And they want to follow that up with a scene where she shoots a rifle and she bounces off the oil platform.
I mean, that is funny. I mean, if you're at this point, you've just given up on taking her seriously. That's funny.
She's just like, ah!
Like, so like, Bond is saying like, shoot them and stuff like that, and so they get shot by the helicopters in the sky because all the ally helicopters are in there now, and so she just fires a gun. The recoil just sends her flying backwards, and Bond's ingenious plan now, because obviously the tape thing doesn't work. He's just going to use Blofeld in his own submarine to destroy the control center with his own submarine.
Just smash it to... I do like the little bit where it's like, we should get out of here. And he's just like, absolutely not. And then as soon as that guy leaves, he's like, yeah, prepare my submarine. I'm going to leave.
Yeah. And yeah, just like, so he gets him out of the water. He plays around with him a little bit by dropping it in the water and then lifting him back up. And then he just slams him repeatedly into the control center. Seemingly Blofeld dies doing this. We don't get to see it really. So that's, again, it's an unsatisfying way to have Blofeld, the guy that killed Bond's wife and love of his life in the previous movie, just die.
Yeah,
in the
like,
middle of his submarine.
this is your payoff for Blofeld killing Tracy, is him smashing that in there while the happy little 007 action theme plays, that bum 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 bum, because it's like it's super happy and we're having this adventure. It's like, this guy murdered your wife. Why are you just smashing this? It's like, God, it's almost like they purposely add that action theme in there just to like annoy the shit out of me, to being like, this is an absolute farce, like you're saying. It's so dumb. There's no shot of Blofeld's death or anything. The oil rig explodes. It just cuts to Bond and Tracy on a cruise ship.
Yep. with Wint and Kidd looking out the portholes.
Yeah, they're there. They're pretending to be the wait staff. They got all this food courtesy of Willard White, including what apparently looks delicious for dessert, bombe surprise. A literal ticking bomb inside of a fake cake.
Yep.
And
yeah, so Tiffany's like immediately just sitting down, ready to go. Like,
Yeah.
she has no idea about what
Yeah.
this could potentially be.
she's a fucking idiot at this point, so she's just like, "Oh, I can deal with that. I love that it's ticking." Like, that kind of. Bond sees through the act, and he's not a moron, and that's all because of the aftershave.
Well, it's two things. So it's the
That's that
aftershave
and the
first
other
of
thing,
all,
yeah.
and it's the fact that says that he thinks that he would have preferred a claret, and then the guy says like, "Oh, well, clarets, or we don't have any clarets on board," and stuff like that. So it's like, "Oh, this wine actually is a claret." So you guys have no idea what you're talking about.
And then it's just
Snooty
like, all right,
bitch.
I guess we're gonna start fighting each other, and Mr. Kidd just grabs some flaming shit, and it goes right in his face.
Hold on. No. They start choking Bond. And fucking every movie, the woman helps a little bit.
Tanya shoots Rosa Klebb.
And
Domino kills Emilio Largo. Kissy doesn't really do anything, but she's in the fight scene,
this completely fucking incompetent woman is just like, oh, wow. I guess we're not having dinner.
Yeah. So when can we eat that bomb surprise? She watches them.
Yeah, she just watches. She's just sitting there like gasping and stuff like that. So, oh, and then he walks forward slowly with flaming skewers. Bond
Yeah.
just throws some of the alcohol over him and sets Kidd aflame.
Yep.
Kid just falls off the side, and when he lands, he's like a skeleton.
Yeah.
Just like that's just immediately happened, and then like Tiffany at least does something that's somewhat worthwhile in that she throws the bomb, trying to hit Kidd, misses, but then reveals the bomb's there.
Like, that's
And
her
then Tony
go-to
tells her-
thing, is that I'm going to help out now that one of the guys is already, it's not a 2-on-1 anymore. Now I'll help out. I know what I'll do. I'll
Could've
throw the...
tackled the guy or something. Like,
She decides to
the-
throw the goddamn cake. And
Reveals the bomb, and then the bomb thing happens. So.
Bond grabs him. He wedges this between his legs. The bomb's strapped to him. He flips him over the boat, and Mr. Wynn explodes. And Bond says, well, he certainly left with his tail between his legs.
yeah. Yeah.
And then the final like line of this entire movie is Tiffany asking how they're going to get the diamonds out of the satellite in the sky.
And that's just like, so how are we going to get those diamonds back? Diamonds are forever. That's your payoff for killing Tracy. Because we're not going to see Blofeld again for 6 movies. And when we see him, It's even worse.
Oh my god.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's one to look forward to. I know. So that's the penultimate Blofeld, the one that we're going to see, because the one after that is the one
Yeah.
Spectre.
Reboot type of scenario. Because
Yeah.
the reason that they didn't use Blofeld after this point is this is full-blown lawsuit of that whole thing with Thunderball. So they're like, well, we can't use Blofeld going forward. So I don't know if they purposely put Blofeld in here to try to cram it in there before the lawsuit would kick in or what. Like, but I mean, I think this is the first time they say at the end what specifically the next Bond film is going to be, because it says James Bond will return in Live and Let Die.
Oh no, they used that in the end of.
They've been doing that.
They did that.
for a
They did that at
while.
the end of
Service?
You only live twice.
Oh, you only have
But
choice.
then
Okay.
Bond will return in Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Okay. So, like, I will say, I mean, Live and Let Die's got some moments. And, like, that's the one that takes place in Harlem. And there's some funny stuff in there. But it is significantly less crazy than this movie is. It's actually a better film in a lot of ways. And it's just like, I hate Diamonds Are Forever.
It's not a good movie.
Absolutely awful.
It's absolutely batshit crazy, and there is some element of charm and enjoyment out of that, but it's something that you'd only get really charm and enjoyment if you're just taking it as if, okay, so this is not a parody Bond movie, but like, okay, this is the weird one. So, yeah, that's all you can really do with it, really.
I hated. I wanted to love this. I thought I was gonna love this. When I watched the trailer, I thought, "Oh man, this will just be so crazy, and I'll just love it." I hate this movie. I think that
Has Dr. No been beaten?
Fuck, that's a bad one too, though.
Well, where does
probably just
where does On Her Majesty's Secret Service land for you? Because I don't have that on my
Thunderball.
my notes here. Under Thunderball?
Yeah.
All right, let me move that in my little notes here. Where's Diamonds on your list then?
It's under From to with Love, but still above Doctor No. I'm not gonna let Doctor No slide just probably because it's like even this movie is a little bit better put together, but that might just be a time thing. We breezed right over it, but like they got away from a lot of the tropes with these two guys until they fucking did the very end with the way he was like, "Ooh,
Yeah.
Bond is strapping the fucking bomb to him," and I just like, what the fuck?
It's like, how do we
What?
kill these characters that have been killing lots of people? I don't know. Let's work a taint in there somewhere.
Yeah, like I hate it. And the worst Bond girl. I hope they don't get any worse than this because the worst.
They do.
Well, fuck.
I'll say it right now, like, you're not gonna like Mary Goodnight. But yeah, this movie blows. It's a fucking romp. Like, if the way that you like the Bond franchise is that you like the silly humor and the stupid, impossible that nobody would name their kid that type of stuff,
It's fun.
with like Pussy Galore and Plenty O'Toole and all that. If you like hokey camp, then some people love this movie. It's like their favorite of the franchise. And for somebody like me, where I'm like, my three favorites are GoldenEye, License to Kill, and Casino Royale. They're like arguably the three most serious Bond films. Not at all working in the same relation with that.
Yeah, it's just I can't. Fuck this film. Best part of it, you can see in the trailer, and it's Plenty being chucked out of a window.
So let's recap a little bit here. Allies, we've got one scene of Moneypenny. Not her best scene, but she's Moneypenny, so I still love her.
Yeah, I think, Moneypenny's great as usual, but I think overall, like, N is surlier than ever.
Yeah, he's a
and,
pain in the ass in this one.
like Q's not super involved
can't-
in it.
What was that, Rob? I think we lost you
For
there.
now.
I think this movie broke Rob's brain, or at least his
computer at the very
at least his internet connection. Yeah.
yeah. But I think it's like a little bit with like this saying that Q was. I mean, Q had a bit more exposure in this movie than maybe in the previous one. It wasn't great by any stretch of imagination. Felix sucks.
Felix
Great
sucks.
Felix. Yeah, he was completely ineffective until the final fighting scene as well. But
I like Q
Yeah.
in it though.
yeah, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's just not. I don't think the Allies overall were a positive on this one.
So how you thinking about MQ, Moneypenny, and Felix, Rob? Now that we got you back in the mix.
Moneypenny, not her best scene. Very, very bland. They weren't even in the shot together. M, I'm gonna say, wasn't even a ally. He was very contentious towards Bond here. Q is fun as ever, and he seemed to even have a little more fun in this one, just because he wasn't always, here's the gadgets. And Felix, nah, not a great take on the character. I'm actually gonna go thumbs down for the Allies.
I forgot to mention this about Moneypenny. It's weird that she has more chemistry with Connery in this scene than she did in You Only Live Twice, because they're not even filming together and they still had better chemistry.
Well, that's how.
That's probably the benefit. Yeah.
Yeah.
The gadgets, we got the moon buggy thing. Thumbs down.
Are we
Yep.
counting that as a gadget?
Yeah, kinda. We got the mouse trap. That's the thumbs down.
Yeah.
We got the grapple hook. Thumbs
That
up.
worked. Yeah, that
Yeah.
worked.
I like the
Yeah.
fake fingerprints. That's good.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, fake fingerprint was good. Q's little gadget to help him win its slots.
Thumbs
I like
up.
that. That's cool. It's a fun little. I like when they give Q, like, more and more throughout this series, they make Q have fun. And sometimes the gags are a little bit stupid to the point where it's like, oh, come on, they never would do that. This is a fun little gadget. It's like, why wouldn't he just? Because he says, I've been dying to test it out. So it's something that he just did on his own. It's not like they actually have like a fundamental purpose to it. I mean, they might though, like Bond being a part of these casinos all the time. Like maybe he would need to get like a quick bit of cash or something.
About the voice modulator.
Dumb.
I
Will
mean,
I
I-
want
I-
here?
I liked it.
I mean, that is a real piece of technology that exists today.
Yeah.
Oh, the execution's what's dumb about it.
Oh yeah.
Fair enough.
How does that work when you're standing in the room with somebody? Oh, and I love that Bond, by the way. I forgot to mention on the other voice scene where he's like, if he's as much of a genius as they say, or whatever it was, like touting
Yeah.
himself as being this brilliant dude. Overall, I'm gonna say thumbs down for the gadgets. It's not as bad as like On Her Majesty's Secret Service not having anything other than that safe cracking thing, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like the fake fingerprints.
I'm gonna say thumbs up because the fake fingerprints and the voice modifier, they actually do work. The slot machine thing was fun, and Q was fun.
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna throw into the gadgets here because when they touted the voice modifier, he's like, "Oh, it's no big deal. I gave one to these kids for Christmas because this is easy." I just like that quip, so I'll give it thumbs up.
Yeah, I'd say overall, gadgets thumbs up. It's an improvement on the previous movie. And I mean, say what you will about the mousetrap being dumb, at least it was effective.
It's true. On the villain side of things, we've got Peter Franks and Mr. whatever he was, I forget his name, and Bert Saxby, and a bunch of people that we don't really even need to get too much into. They're not really all that good. The Franks fight scene is good. When we talk about action.
Fantastic fight scene. Villains, thumbs down. This sucked.
Yeah, Blofeld is obviously the main villain. I think he was played way too campy and way too, just a bit too laissez-faire rather than being like an actual intimidating villain. And like the thing with Kid and
Win.
Kid and Win. It's just weird names. The thing with Kid and Win is just that they were just too. They just don't look the part, even though they were doing stuff that was the part. I just don't see what the vision was. Like, okay, we're gonna have these two just ransack for everyone, but we have to make sure that they don't look intimidating in the slightest, and they're homosexual as well.
And nobody talks to anybody like that. Sorry, like nobody's like, "Oh, that's a good one, Mr. Win." It's like, no one does that.
Try again, Mr. Kid. Whatever. I gotta say though, honestly, I'm giving a thumb up to a certain extent for Mr. Wint and Mr. Kid because
they're good and because they did their job well. It's just that they're weird characters.
They do their job really well, and they're memorable, infamously or not. I do love the theme. Like if we get into the music side of things, I love their theme, and it's like I don't know. Everybody kind of has like a gimmick, and they decided for some reason the gimmick for this one would be gay, which is not like it shouldn't be a gimmick, but whatever. They're clearly in this movie. Like, this movie's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's silly. It's stupid, and I hate it. And in this movie, they're one of the most charming kind of elements.
Fair.
Like, I am by no means ranking Mr. Wint and Mr. Kid on the par with, like, Boris and Xenia from GoldenEye or Odd Job or whatever, but I'm like, I love Mr. Wint and Mr. Kid. They're stupid, like at least I can play off them being like silly characters more than I can Blofeld, because Blofeld's like, you just ruined Blofeld by this point. He is so cool as just the voice that's instructing oh god, what's his name? Morzeny or I think to kill Kronstein in From Russia with Love. Like that's a completely different Blofeld. So major thumbs down on the villains on this one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mrs. Whistler. I forgot to mention on the allies, Willard White. Thumbs down on Willard White.
I liked him.
I mean, he was just. I can't class him as an ally, really, because he was the one that was facilitating the villains in the first place. Obviously, not of his own accord, but But yeah, he's just there, like, because he's not really helping Bond. He's just like a rich dude that just wants to get this shit done with.
It does tell him that if he wants to have the cruise ship go around a couple times, he'll,
Yeah, sure.
The girls. We got Marie, the one who gets her top taken off. She's nothing, of course.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Zambora, the gorilla woman. Bambi and Thumper, I already said it. Massive thumbs down for Bambi and Thumper for me.
What's wild to me is they're the only women in this movie I would give thumbs up.
Yeah, I think I'd give them a thumbs up as well. They're terrible actresses, but they make their scene. That scene is memorable.
Your turn, Bambi. Plenty O'Toole, I give her a thumbs up, honestly, because her character is a
gimmick.
Yeah, it's a gold digger gimmick, and she dies. I'm like, all right, well, she's a gold digger, and she's hot, and she dies. Like, all right,
fair.
She serves her purpose. Unceremoniously written off. They should have had that deleted scene, but like, it's to me, Plenty O'Toole is in that same sort of range as like Pat Fearing from Thunderball. The God, what do you call it? She's not a physician.
Just I know what you
yeah, I can't think of the word.
Sort of like, but yeah, it was some.
All I can think of is obstetrician, and that's
like some sort of clinician or something like that, or health.
Yeah, like
health worker, or whatever.
Like I can't ding Plenty O'Toole too much in comparison to like Ruby Bartlett or Miss Taro, Sylvia Trench. She's in that kind of range. Tiffany, though, damn it, Tiffany. If she stayed where she was before the Gorilla Woman, major thumbs up. Everything from Gorilla Woman onward, major thumbs down.
Yep. Tiffany's a big thumbs
Major
down.
thumbs down. Awful.
On the music side of things, we already kind of said this. I love the Mr. Wint, Mr. Kid theme, and I love Diamonds Are Forever, so I can't possibly give this more than a thumbs up.
Music is
Yeah.
a thumbs up.
Yeah, music is thumbs up for, especially for the Diamonds Are Forever thing. I also quite like the fact that, well, I actually find it quite odd, but in retrospect, kind of like the fact that there are a lot of scenes or fight scenes stuff like that where there's no music playing
Yeah.
at all. I
You
think
would
that's
have thought
kinda
like the car chase would have been the Bond theme blasting or something, yeah.
Yeah, but no, they just let the sounds do the thing for it. So I'm kind of okay with that.
On the action and the humor, the action's pretty ridiculous. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. Mostly kind of bad.
Yeah. The fight with Franks is the best part of the action side of it. The car chases, I think, are a little bit too over the top and a bit too ridiculous for me.
Yeah, the fight in the elevator makes this stand out, but overall, I'd probably say bad, just because even like the movements in all of them were bad.
And how do we classify the humor on this? Because
Rated R.
As it's good humor, the whole thing is comedy.
Yeah, because it is ridiculous and it is a farce, and he does come up with some. Listen, the lines are funny. That's way, way, way too over the line in certain places, but I can't deny the fact that this made me laugh on occasion.
Damn it, he says wrong pussy. Like, just, what?
I guess if what you're going for is the silliest Bond film, this is as much of a thumbs up as you can get, because it is. But if you're going for like what would I write for a Bond film, this is not at all what I would write for a Bond film. So
It's not sophisticated enough at all.
No. I love humor in the Bond films. This is when you get into somebody who thinks that's the primary element. And it's just wrong. So shaken, not stirred. I think we know where we're going here. As shaken as possible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's stir this down the plug hole.
Full on putting it in one of those paint mixer type things that shakes it like crazy.
I mean, I do appreciate the fact that like we've all got, when we're just looking at the master list and things like that, we've all got kind of things a bit all over the place really. But then we just see Diamonds Are Forever is Tony's worst one, Rob and mine's second worst one. So yeah, it's like there's a pretty consensus here of like, yeah, this movie sucks.
I really thought I was gonna like it.
You thought you were going to be like, this is so silly that it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Instead of that this is so silly. God damn, this is stupid.
Yeah.
For anybody who's keeping track, this is our rankings right now. Rob's got Goldfinger at number 1, then From Russia with Love, Thunderball, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, You Only Live Twice, Diamonds Are Forever, and Dr. No. Callum's got Osmosis at number 1, then Thunderball, Goldfinger, Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Diamonds Are Forever, and You Only Live Twice. So what is it that makes these, because like I said, mine is From Russia with Love and Goldfinger in the top 2. I'm kind of back and forth. Then Thunderball, You Only Live Twice, so Dr. No, On Your Majesty's Secret Service, and Diamonds Are Forever for reasons that I've already said. But what makes it to where you guys still think that Dr. No for Rob is still worse and You Only Live Twice is still worse for Callum? I'm assuming Dr. No is too boring compared to Diamonds Are Forever and You Only Live Twice is too racist.
Yeah, and it's like for me, Dr. No is too. It's weird. It's all over the place. But again, it's the first film, so it's probably that. Like, if I didn't know that I was watching a James Bond film and I tried to sit down and watch it, I wouldn't stick with it. At least Diamonds, I know what I'm getting.
Yeah, I kind of went with the only way twice. I mean, the racist part definitely does play a big part in it. It's also due to the fact that I think Aki dying was disappointing, and the fact that like Kissy takes over and she's not really. They should just be Aki all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think that Blofeld is worse than this Blofeld, because that Blofeld looks really. And this one is obviously it's too jokey and it's too camp, but at least he feels prominent in a role. He has a bit of a stature to him, whereas that one looks like a scared old man. So, so I think that this one was at least a bit more impressive than the one in You Only Live Twice.
So, I mean, we're going to roll along here with a lot of the other things we were ranking, like the girls, ranking the villains and all that. Of course, we're going to keep more track of that later on, but that's just, it's a complicated process. So there's a whole big spreadsheet. And, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 8 or so different tabs. And we're going to kind of keep that going as time goes on. But we'll wrap that all up at the end of this because we still have plenty more movies to go. Diamonds Are Forever in the bag. One thing left to do is to go around here, give you guys some plugs, tell you guys what some other things are that you should check out. You should check out everything else that's happening on fanboysanonymous.com. You should check me out at Tony Mango all over the place. And if you're into the pro wrestling side of things, go to smarkoutmoment.com and check out everything that's happening there. Subscribe to there, follow all those things, check out the podcasts, the articles, and so on and so forth. These guys have a lot of things that are on more of the wrestling side of stuff. So if you are interested in that, check out what Callum's got, for instance.
Yeah, so I think by now in the series of this part, we would have already finished the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast, but you're more than willing to check that out on the Smart Cat Moment channel. There's a big playlist where you can listen to all of the episodes from start to finish. It's where me and Rob have gone back to the year 2002 and 2003. Checked out every single episode of SmackDown that Paul Heyman was the head writer for. So if you're interested in some retro wrestling, check that out. And if you're interested in more retro wrestling, me and Rob will be up with a new series, maybe even right now as you're listening to this, but if not, very fairly soon. But I won't spoil it as of yet, just because we need to iron out a few details beforehand. Other than that, check out the smartcatmoment.com website with all the articles, including the power rankings, because that's the one that I do every single week. And follow me on Twitter at WigMeister14.
Very good, Mr. Wig. Now you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at DudeFelice. You can check out everything I got going on over at Fightful.com and WrestleZone.com. And just keep clicking around and supporting pro wrestling and everything Tony's doing.
Yeah, and if you were hoping for the next one to be a little crazy, we're going to get a little bit crazy on some things. We're going to kind of go back to You Only Live Twice as far as, oh, God damn it, with some of the racist type stuff that's happening. We're going to have some funny moments, but we're going to also tone things down quite a bit as well. I do really enjoy the next film for what it's worth. It is one of the films that has some of the biggest influences on the franchise. We've got one of the themes that most people, not me, love. We've got a villain that people think is one of the best villains that a lot of people know, even if they've only just been really into GoldenEye. We've got, I think, one of the most beautiful Bond women. We got statues that kill people. We've got snakes. We've got a whole bunch, a lot of things coming your way because we are setting this off into episode 008. The next time around, this podcast will return with Live and Let Die.